Hey everybody, you are listening to Canary Cry Radio. And razzle dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil. I wanted to pop in at the beginning of this episode to let everybody know just a couple of things. Number one, we recently had a strike put on the YouTube channel because of our interview with the one, the only L.A. Marzulli talking about the Nephilim. So if you are one of the YouTube listeners and haven't seen anything new popping up recently, that's why. I highly recommend you go follow us on Rumble or DLive or Twitch or any of the other places that you can get the show. But as always, we'll also be posting the episodes right here on the RSS feed. What's up, podcast listeners? Help us spread the word just a little bit. This is doesn't necessarily come as a surprise to us, although it is very frustrating. We believe that this was done erroneously. We are choosing to not believe that it was done maliciously. So if you could help us get the word out, if you know Canarians on different forums or on different platforms, just spread the word. The YouTube is going to be pretty quiet for, well, we don't actually know for how long. They have not told us how long we are going to be in timeout for. So we are praying to the good Lord above that it's not forever. But just another reason to get hooked in with all the ways that you can stay in contact with us, like joining the newsletter, joining the text message alert system, joining the Discord or the community. There's all sorts of things. Go check it out at canarycry.party. Yes, it's a URL. Type it in. Go, travel, fly like the wind. Well, I won't hold you for too much longer. We have an excellent interview coming up here with Titus Frost. Yes, you will remember Titus Frost. We get into it. But he's back, and many of you might already know he made some headlines recently. Nikki Haley confronted in Chik-Fil-A for wasting millions fighting Trump. That's such a great headline. And yes, you may have seen the video. Our friend Titus Frost just happened to stumble upon the one and only Nikki Haley in Chik-Fil-A, of all places. And a viral moment ensued. Don't worry, we'll play it during the episode for you if you missed it. But we couldn't miss the opportunity to reconnect with Titus Frost. So make sure you get connected with him on Twitter and all the places he exists. And last of all, just welcome to the new listeners. If we have any new listeners here, sorry for all this talking at the front here. I don't mean to waste your time, but I did want to give you a big warm welcome here to Canary Cry Radio. After you listen to this interview, I recommend you go check out Canary Cry News Talk. They are two separate shows. It is confusing. We know that now. But Canary Cry Radio, chock-a-block, full of interesting interviews about all the weird, wonderful things that's been going on for over a decade. That's right. We're on year 11? 11 or 12, I forget. But go check that out. And of course, Canary Cry News Talk is our 3 times a week news analysis and deconstruction show. We think that you will love it, and we hope that you enjoy. Okay, I think one last thing. Stay tuned, folks, for some updates about the Jefferson City, Missouri meetup. January 30th, this coming Tuesday, was the scheduled Canary Cry meetup for Jefferson City at Aldi's Pizza. We're going to need to call that one off. So that is being rescheduled. So check in with Sir Ike if you haven't already and get the details on that. We just got to put that out there. All right, everybody, here we go. I'll be quiet now. Everybody take your seats down in front. Turn down the lights. Here is our conversation with Titus Frost. Hey everybody, you are listening to Canary Cry Radio. And razzle dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gons. Welcome to episode number 171.
171. It's one more than previously, and that joke will never get old. We got a great opportunity. Friend of the show had a fun little run-in with some big, very important people, but he is up to so many things, making waves on the high seas of memory. Today, we have Captain Titus Frost. What's up, buddy?
What's
How's
up,
it
bud?
going? Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate
No
it.
problem. Thanks for making some time. I know life is always busy, and you're one of those guys, man. We've been around for a while, and not everybody has put in the time, the work, the dedication as you have. So very proud to have had you on the show, and just to keep watching you do your thing, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to be honest, and I don't know if I said this last interview I did with you guys, but when I was first waking up to like everything in the truth community, you guys were one of the guys that turned me from being atheist to being a believer in Christ. So, like,
Wow.
the Age of Deceit films were like instrumental in me going from being atheist to being Christian.
Wow.
So that's
Praise
like,
God. Praise God.
Yeah,
I'm hearing a
that's
lot
a
of
great-
stuff like that, which is really cool. But I always say I'm just following the Lord, and then whatever good stuff happens, that's all for him. That's by him, for him. So very cool to hear. Very cool to hear.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And, people might recognize longtime listeners. We actually had you on the show before, Gons. What episode was that?
Yeah, it was episode 115 of Canary Cry Radio. Pizzagate is Real with Titus Frost, published on February 20th of 2017.
Oh, my
Man,
gosh.
that's a whole decade ago.
It's been a
It
while.
doesn't seem like that long ago, but man, we're coming up almost a decade on that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's weird how we live in an entirely different world than we did in 2017. I mean, honestly, Titus, even when we had you on, Pizzagate was like not really even a thing in the way that, people think about it now. And of course, here we are, the other side of Epstein and the other side of Epstein, and now the mainstream media and the court documents and the blah, 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 blah. And it's just, how does it feel? How does it feel to be on the other side of the timeline here and to see the world sort of catching up to the weird fringy stuff?
It feels good that we were able to, I think, affect some sort of change in the world for like a positive way. Obviously, whatever was going on at Comet is no longer going on there. And, obviously Epstein's Island has been shut down completely since 2017. So, I don't know where things have shifted to, and I'm sure we'll find that in the future, but we've at least collectively, everybody, alt media, even the media that covered it, have, I think, affected some positive change in the world, And
which is
people are
crazy to
realizing
think
that.
about.
It's hard to imagine because back in 2012, I was like out there protesting with Anonymous before I was a YouTuber, and we never thought that there'd be like justice for Epstein in 2012. So,
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. It was a constant repetition of like, well, nothing's ever going to be done about this. What a horrible, dark place we live in. And, of course, we still must struggle with that concept, but it's like we hopped onto a timeline that I couldn't even have imagined. So for those who might not be familiar with you, maybe they missed our interview before, why don't you tell people what the phenomenon of Captain Titus Frost is? What have you been up to?
Well, I do a show that's now Meme Wars. So we do lots of comedic type stuff on YouTube in order to keep the YouTube channel alive. Every once in a while, I'll do a political deep dive. And recently I did a documentary. You can see there, Do Not Watch This. That documentary is my recent Belt and Road Initiative documentary. It kind of goes over the geopolitics of all the wars that are going on. And so, discuss Israel and Gaza and Yemen and all these places before they popped off and why they're popping off, which has to do with a geopolitical shift to the east, which was described by Henry Kissinger before he passed. So
yeah, dude, Belt and Road is like an essential piece of information for people. We've done our best to try to talk about it, but you gotta learn about the Belt and Road. You need to be intimately familiar with what's going on there, folks, because suddenly the world will make a lot more sense, and the actions of the elites and such will no longer be surprising nor mysterious.
Yeah, it's really a grand chess plan by them to shift the balance of power in a way to get us into what is a continuous war. And as 1984 described, when war becomes continuous, it's no longer war against foreign nations, it's war against the people. And that's what these wars really have become. So
it does seem like along with the whole, you mentioned, Epstein Island is no longer being occupied, the shift going on, they had to move around a bit, their old system got ratted out basically. So their entire operation probably had to change. And so that's kind of what we're seeing too with different geopolitical moves going on. But of course, at the higher levels of social engineering, some of the nodes of operation, if you will, Epstein being an example of that, both physical and sort of an operation based type thing to move it around. So yeah, you're right. Like we don't know when we'll hear the next thing on or where they've gone or but I think when we look at mainstream stuff and they're starting to bring up aliens and the government and stuff, I get the feeling that they're still working pretty hard to deceive the public there. So
some of the interesting
to adapt.
If you look at some of the interesting focus on some of the people that were outed as Epstein, like Prince Andrew, an example. Prince Andrew's, was it Prince Charles's brother? He has been behind the scenes supporting some of the stuff like the ADL documentary that was released by the BBC, or not the BBC, it was Al Jazeera. Which had to do with, kind of, without getting too into third rail topics, Israeli influence in American politics. And there's kind of like a backlash by the people that were running Epstein's Island against certain individuals that are not on board with the Belt and Road sort of shift, like the royal family of England, which are not on board with that shift necessarily, which is why there's been so much focus on Andrew as part of that release, right? So, and not other people. There were many people there, so it's just interesting that there's such a focus on one of my LARPers of the year, Prince Andrew, for his non-sweating performance when there were far more important people there,
He has a condition.
Yeah, he sure does.
That's something that I wanted to bring up too, because you've brought up you have the meme wars, you have the LARPing stuff, and your idea of a LARP, which look, I'm old, I don't know stuff. Basil had to tell me what that even meant, but now it makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. And you apply it to the context of politicians, media personalities, news anchor, like all these people that are doing media and stuff that we do, in a sense, playing a role. It's a very interesting idea. Can you talk about that real quick and just get people familiar with it? Because look, again, I just turned 41 and I had to get caught up on that stuff over the last year and a half or something. So I know people they hear the word LARP and they have no idea what's going on. So
part of the interesting sort of revelation of that recently was even Tucker Carlson during his shift sort of coming out and not using the word, but basically explaining oh yeah, I was just sort of in it and playing my role.
Yeah, Alex Jones said that too recently. Yeah. If I was controlled opposition, it wasn't on purpose and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a thing. Yeah.
So everyone used to call everyone shills, kind of boring.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what if they're all just LARPing? It's a live action role play, which is so. I guess the best example of this is to just give who the winners have been. So in 2019, Prince Andrew won for LARPing that he had nothing to do with Epstein's Island and he didn't sweat and he didn't party and all this. So the audience nominated him as a LARPer, and then through head-on-head battles against other people like Bill Gates, he was, chosen by the chat to be the most LARPing person that year. So he won the first LARPer of the Year award, and we were going to send him a deodorant stick, but I don't think MI6 would allow that.
Intercepted the package there, yeah.
And then next year was Bill Gates for LARPing as a medical expert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, yep.
So he won. And then the next year it was Dr. Fauci for LARPing as someone who cared about the public and dogs. So we sent him
that's all coming
a
to the
dog
surface
collar.
too. Oh, jeez.
And then, it's just gone on since then. I think it was Zelensky last year.
Yeah.
For LARPing and making hundreds of billions of dollars. So,
and it's really interesting because it's always been kind of a fun little comment when talking to normies like, yeah, politics, world events, it's all literally theater.
The world is a stage.
And they think you're talking metaphorically, and they think, they're all deep. And it's like, no, it's like literally theater. Like they are, sure, it's happening in the real world in real time, but they are literally role playing. They are, and there's a couple different ways to talk about it. You got your sort of PR role playing, Bill Gates spends $1 million a year on PR and they help him craft his image. And then it's his, he has to live through that image. And then the media helps come in and bolster it or solidify it and stuff like this. But once you realize that pretty much every politician and every elite in almost any capacity, they are role playing because they live in the media. The media is it's an entertainment product at its core, and that's why when you start stepping outside your role, you start getting kicked out because hey, if you're not going to play your character, you can't be in the show. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of them just read scripts and stuff like that, so it's they're literally actors, So
yeah, and speaking of actors and reading scripts and master LARPers, you actually just a few days ago had a little run-in with maybe I don't know, she might be in the running for some sort of award for LARPing. You ran into Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Like the real life Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. It's just...
it's hard to believe too, because even watching your video with her, I almost wouldn't believe it unless I trusted you that you were actually standing in front of a real person, because she kind of moves and looks, and the way her head kind of bobs around, she kind of looks like a Jim Henson's puppet from the Dark Crystal or something like that.
They were awful in that place too, right? Like we just stopped for some food and I was starving. I'd been skiing all day and they'd taken over the whole thing, like inside with their little stupid camera crew. And she had like all these security people. So, like when the thing ends, I couldn't have gotten another word in. I had my one opportunity and we had to set her up before that. Like my buddy went in and he was like, "Oh, we love you. We love your politics."
Oh, that was your little wingman there at the beginning?
Yeah, that was my buddy. He set her up big time.
You love your politics?
I love the look he gives you. He's like, "All right, go get him, Titus."
So
set you up a little
he goes
softball.
In, he got a picture with her and everything. And then she turns to me as like, he said to her, he goes, "Oh, my buddy loves your politics."
She should have known. She should have known immediately that this was a setup, because literally no one likes Nikki Haley's politics.
That's probably why she got excited. She does have a bright smile. She's ready to go. So
yeah, she's ready for this, right? And I just like quickly threw my cell phone to my my wife, and she started filming. Like, right, that's how we got it.
Now, the video is only 57 seconds long. Can we play it? Because there was some stuff said in this that, first of all, you nailed. And second of all, it blew. Last episode I talked about it. What was that? Yesterday, actually. So this will come out on Friday. So on Monday's episode, folks. It blew my mind, the level of the facade falling from Nikki Haley with like one comment she said, and I don't think she even knows what she said, and I think a lot of people are kind of missing it too. But let's roll that tape if we can, Gons, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, give me a second. I thought I had it ready, and I do not, but it'll be just one moment.
That's okay.
Here.
It would be weird if you did have it ready at the right time. See, this is part of the fun. Now, by the way, on your X account, this has gotten 354.9 thousand views, so that's pretty good. But you've also been getting retweets from like, 1,000 accounts right now. You made a comment about some accounts that formerly like had you blocked sharing this video.
Jack Posobiec and Laura Loomer.
Oh my gosh! You
Laura
got the
Loomer
looms?
getting in on it.
Loomer. I'll give Loomer credit because she actually retweeted my video, right? So like she at least gave me like props for it, but Jack Posobiec just straight stole that thing.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
but he did call me a based Chad, so we're gonna let it slide. I don't know.
Moving up in the world,
that's
man.
Something. That's you can put that on your bio, like on your website or on your Twitter, like he's a based Chad, quotation marks, hyphen, Jack Posobiec.
All right, here you go. Here's the clip.
Good to see you. Nice to see you, Dean. Oh, I love that. We all get out and vote on Tuesday. It's important.
Yeah. So can I ask you just like a tiny question?
Yeah.
Do you think it's responsible for politicians to spend like $100 million in Iowa on TV ads, which go to mainly news stations that have lied to us for years, when there's homeless veterans out there that could use that money? When you didn't even come close to beating Trump, and you spent like $100 million in TV ad money?
Do you know my husband's a veteran?
That's fine, but I'm
He's
just
a combat
saying.
veteran?
I'm
and
asking
do you know that
you,
when the media doesn't tell the truth, the whole reason you put commercials on is to tell the truth because the media doesn't?
My point is, you're not going to beat Trump, and
You know
all
what?
of the money you're wasting could go to better causes.
I appreciate
that would make
that.
the Republican Party actually look better.
You know what?
what
Last
I'm
I
saying?
saw, it was a democracy. So we're going to keep working for a good democracy. We're going to work for freedom, but thank you for your service.
Not a democracy.
All right.
We
Not
don't
a
live in a
democracy, yeah.
democracy.
When I'm saying but, that's what I was going to say, but she was being like ushered away by a bunch of...
She was getting her extraction. Her
team
was coming in.
That was definitely the end of it. If I had pressed on, I probably would have been like removed.
That's true.
Yeah, right. You would have been extracted.
Yeah.
So, first of all, hilarious. For those who are just listening, you got to watch the video because Nikki's face when she realizes what's going on is sort of this, kind of like I said, it's like she's a Jim Henson's puppet in the Dark Crystal, and the puppet master didn't read the script. And so the whole expression just goes completely blank. And you can imagine whoever's pulling the strings had to put down the strings to look around for something to say. There's quite the glare you receive there.
Yeah, actually make her left eye twitch when I say Trump beat her. The first thing I will say was I was a little nervous doing this.
Of course.
Till I got the first question out, I was nervous as F. Once I got that first question out, I was fine.
In the zone.
Yeah, trust me, Basil can relate. When he did his sit down with Rand Paul, I think he had 10 minutes.
Totally.
And the first 5 is spent on his sweater or something.
I was complimenting
trying to do
his
small
sweater.
talk with them. It was dude, get to the point. But good job there. Yeah. So first off, not a democracy. Second of all, you made her eye twitch. You probably didn't know. I think I mentioned on Monday's show as well that the whole Nikki Haley infidelity story was being brought up again. I guess it's an older rumor
Yeah,
that
I
was
didn't know
being
this.
shared. Yeah, so that would have been
I
the
guess she cheated on her husband twice, allegedly.
yeah.
So when you talk about giving homeless veterans, some resources, and she
She brings up
mentions
her
her
husband.
veteran husband, maybe it's because
Who's
he needs
not
a new
homeless.
place to stay. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, the reason I picked the homeless veteran thing is because, like, in the past, I did a fundraiser and got 48 survival backpacks together
Yeah.
to hand out for the homeless. And when we went out and were handing them out, it turned out like the vast majority of the homeless in Boston were veterans. So I think like 40 of the 48 backpacks ended up going to homeless vets.
Wow.
And those cost like $2,800 total for 48 backpacks. So when I divided up
Yeah.
100 million she wasted in Iowa by the 35,000 vets, that's like $2,800 per vet.
Absolutely
Right. So
insane.
like she could, like, the thing is like they could spend, like, say she took $50 million and put it towards TV ads and $50 million towards helping out homeless veterans. What would get her more traction with the voters?
Oh, totally. Yeah, she could end like veteran homelessness in that state for $50 million.
Yeah.
It's just insane. So like, why won't they do stuff like that when that would get them more traction with but no, they got to pump the beast, right? They're just feeding money back into the propaganda network that props up these candidates like Nikki Haley, who no one would ever vote for if it wasn't for the media propping them up in the first place.
And that fits in so perfectly with what really disturbs me about what she said. Yeah, that's the perfect point. That money is on purpose getting pumped into the system because that's the deal that they have, and that's what keeps the media alive every 4 years, this huge influx of cash that ultimately is from rich donors and corporations. It's just a transfer of wealth from one billionaire to another. And when she said she agreed with you that the media is lying to us, the news is lying to us, and she's like, you could see almost an algorithm pop up in her head, like, okay, lying media, I know what to say here. I know what the people want to hear or whatever. But when she said, yeah, the news media does lie to us, that's why we need to tell the truth with advertisements? Like, what are you talking about? And I think she believes that. I think she really believes that the advertising industry is telling the truth. I mean, it's part of the LARP, talk about a live action role play to justify not helping out homeless veterans because you can tell the truth in advertisements, political advertisements on news networks. Like, what kind of insane mind control do you have to be under to think that that's like a noble way to spend your money? And such a dangerous mindset today when, look, no one in the world thinks that advertisements are telling the truth. It's sort of explicit that they don't tell the truth. That's the whole thing. But to speak to you and suggest that she is telling the truth through her marketing shows just how little respect she has for any sort of plebeian or civilian who's below her station. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was gross. Like, her entire response was gross. The fact she called it a democracy and not a constitutional republic was shocking, for someone that's running for office.
Oh, yeah.
Not know this.
Revealing.
It's just
revealing of her,
her sort of democratic support.
And you're right. And that's why I framed the question the way I did, because I knew I'd trap her with that. Because I'm like, the media lies, but you're giving them money. And then she had no response to that because I specifically framed it in that way so that she couldn't escape.
No, she had to say, I'm fighting the media by giving them $100 million.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, there is only one thing that came to my mind, which is they have to justify it. They have to justify spending the $100 million. And so that's the line. That's the line that whatever backroom deal was made. It's like, there you go.
It's not even about her running for president, really. It's just she's a conduit for the money to flow through regarding like a bunch of other backroom deals with, the news networks and the billionaires and whoever.
And this is like one state, right? 100 million for one state.
That's Iowa. Money. Like, when was the last time anything important happened in Iowa? Not to be mean to Iowans, but it's
I mean, that's like makes up for
you're going to spend $100 million on that. How are you going to? If this was a business, okay, and we spent $100 million on Iowa and advertising to not get a contract in Iowa, everyone would be fired. It's insane. It's an unbelievable waste of money. Like, it's an insane amount of money.
And you would not be given another chance. You don't get another chance to go spend $100 million in another state. Like, no, it's ludicrous.
No.
Yeah.
What do you think about her? Do you think she is for real? Do you think this is a for real thing, or you think there's something else going on with Nikki Haley?
She's probably just some, person that is a propagandist for the elite. As far as I'm concerned, she's like a WF puppet and all this.
Yeah.
She's a warmonger.
Oh, exactly. I mean, she's the exact same
thing.
And that's the crazy thing is she wants to advocate for wars overseas, but doesn't want to take care of our guys when they come home.
I mean, her positions are insane. So, for those who might not have watched the Iowa caucuses or the debates or the whatever, I mean, she is obviously, it sounds like she's just taking the script directly from Biden. I mean, there's a theory floating around that I think kind of makes sense, which is Biden's not going to win no matter what. And for whatever reason, the Democratic Party is unable to just replace him. That's kind of how the party works. When it's your turn, and you get what you deserve for your long, hard journey in the Democratic Party. So they're not just going to kick him out. I mean, there's sort of an analysis floating around that Nikki Haley is actually a Democratic candidate. And because the polling shows that Biden basically loses no matter what, if the left side of the beast, the left side of the mechanism can get their own Republican sort of nominated, then the primary election is actually the real election. Like, whoever wins the primary is who wins the presidential election. So they just sort of entered some Republican lady with a bunch of Democratic talking points because they know whoever wins the Republican primary is who's going to win in 2024.
That's not a bad theory, especially that could be why we saw Vivek step down. We saw DeSantis step down. They all capitulated to Trump kind of thing. But
you mean had a little bit of self-respect?
Yeah, well, the other thing is the stuff that went viral for Nikki Haley recently was her talking about how she experienced discrimination as a brown girl growing up and stuff like that because of her immigrant parents. So it's
and how she's a woman.
Wait a minute, this is all progressive left liberal talking points.
Yeah,
and stuff that's worn out too. The stuff that doesn't work anymore at all in the realm of politics.
But she is actually LARPing. It's not even her name. Her name's not even Nikki. It's some other name, right? So that's another LARP of hers to sound more American.
That is
she can't even use her real name.
What
she got
is
her American
real name?
sweater.
Just in case somebody didn't know it. Let's look it up real quick. Do you know it offhand?
No, nobody knows offhand.
No? Okay. I've heard it a couple times. I've heard it a few times, and I cannot remember it.
Yeah, it's like maybe that's why she did it.
I got it right
That makes
here.
sense. Mm-hmm.
Nimrata,
right.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, there
Nimrata.
You go.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to run with Nimrata. So
yeah.
But, what's in a name? A snake in the grass is a snake, no matter what you call it.
Thing is, even if, I don't think she has any chance of beating Trump, right? I mean,
no, probably
absolutely.
The average Republican is completely pro-Trump. I don't know why they think anyone, when he's basically still the incumbent because he was president before, why would the Republican Party, do this to itself? It's destroying itself for no reason with running her and spending all their money on her, you know, instead of trying to get Trump back on the ballot where the Democrats are trying to get him off the ballot in places, Doesn't make sense to me.
No, it makes no sense. On one hand, it might be the Democratic Republican, what is it called? The Republican National Committee, whatever. Yeah, the RNC. It might be their way of just kind of paying off everybody they owe in one sense, because the RNC is just a total mess. But we kind of forget it. People like you and I and Gons and just people who listen to our stuff, it's easy to forget that the majority of the Republican Party, or at least a plurality of the Republican Party, is like just as mindless and sort of disconnected and brainwashed by the system. You know, the bipartisan sort of conversation doesn't even really matter because, or the difference, I guess, between conservatives and liberals doesn't really matter, because if you're just responding to sort of the narrative puppet masters, no matter what party you're in, it's really a uniparty. And so Nikki Haley's kind of the uniparty candidate, and she's getting more votes than I expected her to get in these caucuses and in this primary. And it's just a good reminder that just because somebody's Republican doesn't mean they're paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not like a super Trump guy or anything.
Same.
I'm waiting for the first president to challenge the Federal Reserve banking system, and then we'll have like an actual American president. But the way I say about it is like Trump is the best of the bad choices we're given, basically, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it could just all be PR. It could be totally nothing. It could just be his brand, and things will be the same as always. However, they are making quite a show of trying to make sure that he does not get in. But again, could all just be theater.
Another weird thing was at the end, Nikki Haley thanked me for my service.
I noticed that. Yeah, I wonder if I was curious about.
I don't know why she did that, but I was guessing, and that's why I wore it on this. It might have been the hat, but the hat is a Bruins hat, and it just has like Operation Hat Trick on it, which is for like, it's a thing that raises money for veterans, which is why I bought it. But like,
she might.
I never claimed to be a service member or anything.
I kind of read that too when she was talking to you. It's kind of obvious that, even though it's sort of like fake respect she was trying to give you and stuff, I'm like, oh, she thinks because you care about veterans that you are a veteran.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Reading it wrong or whatever. I mean, you look like you have seen some stuff, man. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I do work for the defense industry, but I'm not, out there killing people.
Chill.
LARP.
Oh, God, here we go.
Military-industrial complex, chill.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You're our favorite MIC shill, Titus.
You're welcome, guys.
Okay, what...
someone's got to make money off all these wars.
I know. Well, see, that's what I've been telling Gons. Somebody's got to make some money on this stuff, and, if not us, who?
Here's why we're not making any money. It's something called the Cantillon effect. I'm sure, Titus, you might have seen this before.
Words.
Big fancy words. The closer you are to the source of money creation, the more you benefit. So with Nikki Haley, her family tied in, or her position tied in, close to the money printers, and so of course she gets to be a part of the flow of cash that all these elite move around the millions and billions, and everyone else gets just the crumbs. So there you go. That's sort of the problem right now with the separation of the classes. The class war has become very apparent, and of course that's why we're having the populist uprising, which I suppose is being
wow, you had a
represented.
You had a graphic ready for that and everything.
Yeah, I was kind of looking stuff up. Yeah, I was saying that the populist movement is voting Republican, I guess. It aligns a little more with what's been happening, I suppose, but it is interesting that even still with the rise of the populist movement, we're still under the two-party paradigm. It's hard to break that system.
The key to this is getting the entrepreneurial class to revolt against the top, because during like the revolution in the United States, it was those people that were the main ones driving the revolution, the pub owners and stuff like that. Right. They were holding the meetings, and the people with means are the ones that we need on our side. right? And there's a lot more of them than there is ultra wealthy, and they're a lot less near the source of all the wealth than, the ultra, like they're closer to us than they think they are, right?
Right.
So we just have to convince more of them to speak out, So it is hard to do because you risk everything when you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Vivek had such a small amount of support, but a very passionate set of supporters. And isn't that how it happened in the Bolshevik Revolution as well? I might be getting my historical tidbits wrong, but when the revolution happened in Russia, it started by brainwashing everybody into thinking that, like, the farmers were the problem. They're the ones. They have all the resources, and they're keeping them from you. And then it was, oh, no, now it's the business owners. They're the problem. We need to kill all the business owners, and then everything will be fine. And it just kept progressing and progressing. But it was that sort of deconstruction of people close to, honestly, I mean, it's like people close to being free. It's not even just the generation of wealth, although that is a part of being free, is you're free to build wealth for yourself. And it was the sort of mind control destruction of those, honestly, entrepreneurial classes.
Oh my gosh! Sorry.
Whoa, God.
Sorry.
Yeah, the destruction of the entrepreneurial class was a very powerful weapon in communism. I mean, that was the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's like it. If we could, like, it would be great for all business owners in the U.S. if we had no more Federal Reserve System because of the destruction of the value of money. Like, every year, all these businesses have to constantly increase the price of the goods we're selling and all of this because inflation is so off the charts, right? So it makes it very difficult to run a business because you also have to keep increasing salary because of inflation. And it's outpacing what the entrepreneurial class can even afford. So it would be a lot better for them and all business owners to not have this central banking scheme.
Yeah.
And to go back to something like America had, post the Civil War up until 1913, which was the most prosperous time in this country by far.
Yeah. It's like the entrepreneurial class is the fall guys. They know that they can, the people at the top, at the Fed or at the government can basically sabotage the entire economy with the illusion of sort of free market principles. And then, mostly people will blame the business owners. Now, there's definitely something to be said about the American corporate class. That's they've got their own list of sins that they'll need to atone for.
Yeah, they got the tech upgrade.
Yeah, well, they're also, private public partnerships, WEF. They are the sort of ingredient that's been introduced into American politics to actually create some sort of American fascism. People think, mean tweets and rude, appearances on TV is fascism, but the definition of fascism includes the connection of corporate power and government power teaming up against the people. And hello, what do we got going on here? But there's a difference between the corporate class, which is, corporations are people too, man. And then along with the diffusion of responsibility that happens in the corporations. And, business owners, people stepping out to create value for themselves, their family, and their community without the sort of ultimate goal of siphoning every last drop from the veins of the members of our economy. It's really one of those things. There is a subtle difference, but I think you're right. We're living under sort of a facade, an illusion of free market that, what would really fix all this, Titus? A government central bank digital currency. That's what we need.
God, no. No. That's the last thing we need, right?
One of the things that I thought was great was I recall that you not endorse necessarily, but you were saying you were investing in some Algorand, which is a cryptocurrency that was created by, I forget who the guy's name, but he's pretty prominent in the realm of encryption and stuff. And, I looked at the project and it was okay, but I personally didn't invest in it. But just a few months ago, Hillary Clinton came out and was like, we're promoting the Algorand blockchain. And it was like, oh my gosh, Titus Frost front ran Hillary Clinton on the CBDC technology. So.
Great job, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked into it, there's just a lot of connections between MIT and the elite. And there's a lot of connections between Algorand and various elite people. So it's just, you can see it was written into one of those documents that came out of Europe about what they're going to transition the euro to. And they picked like 7 different blockchain technologies, and Algorand just happened to be one of them. It was like XRP, Algorand, Ethereum, and a couple others.
That's smart, man.
So,
that was a smart move. My goodness.
It was good. But I got divorced, so my ex-wife now holds all my Algorand. So congratulations.
Well, you know what? I will say it's being touted in the crypto world as sort of a dead chain. So there's that going for you. And nobody cared when Hillary Clinton came out and was all stoked about it. I think people dumped it. I saw some people on the internet that were like, all right, we're selling all of our Algorand now because Hillary endorsed it. So
there you go.
Maybe it was a good thing. Maybe it was a blessing.
I think in the future it'll have a lot of value still. I think maybe I think a lot of times in the truth community we are way ahead of things because we do so much research and we're paying attention so closely to things. Yeah. So I think in a couple of years, it'll probably blow up huge. I mean, you got to remember back in the early days of Bitcoin, it was like truth community people like David Seaman and others that were pushing it when it was like, a few cents per Bitcoin. And it took years for it to get to be what it is now. So,
right.
Yeah. Which is a big thing now too, because now BlackRock's getting involved with all the Bitcoin stuff and they're buying it up. So,
the interesting thing with BlackRock is when you look at the largest asset wealth managers, they all own each other, right?
Megacorp.
The Megacorp thing that you've seen probably going around on Twitter. It's pretty interesting looking at that, and what the implications of that are, I don't really know because it's so new. I don't think anyone's ever seen anything like that before where you have this snowball rolling downhill of this giant megacorp owning itself and just buying up more and more. And where does that lead humanity? I don't know. It's probably not a good thing.
It's definitely ominous. Like when you start, it's like doesn't come as a surprise when you first learn about Megacorp. It doesn't necessarily surprise you, but it has this ominous, foreboding sort of spiritual aspect to it that you're like, oh no, this whole thing is about to explode and there's nothing I can do about it.
I will say that part of what the institutions owning each other on that point, there is a big hedge fund, Vanguard, who came out publicly once the Bitcoin ETFs were approved, and there were 11 companies that were allowed to issue this product, this Bitcoin ETF product, and Vanguard came out and said, we're not doing it. And then it split the community. It was like half the people are like, Vanguard is old news, and other people are like, Bitcoin is nonsense, it's not real, And I'm sitting here going, oh, this is the same thing. This is the same right-left paradigm. If it's owned by each other and they're creating conflict, all they're doing is getting more attention on this one particular topic, which
BlackRock
is Bitcoin.
being the company who came out with the one of the companies with a Bitcoin ETF, and then Vanguard who went against it, but BlackRock and Vanguard own each other, so it's like this false, this false dichotomy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing.
Captain Titus Frost, I want to be respectful of your time here. So,
I do got to head out. Actually, thank you very much.
We got to get him out of here. So, let's. One last thing is, what is the message you're trying to get out here? What's the message that you want people? What's the new thing you're looking at? What's the impending doom? What's the hope? What's the optimism? What's your thing, man? You got a moment to tell the people.
What's my thing? Just to for years I thought that, we would defeat the system. Now I'm just trying to like awake as many people as possible, make their day a little bit better with some comedy, maybe teach them a little bit of truth at the same time, and then direct them towards, hopefully Christianity as a way to fight back against all this. I don't really know what else we can do. So,
yeah. And you know what? I think that's a great message, and I think that's a message that's starting to sink in with people, is the spiritual aspect of what's going on, the principled stance of Christianity, and, if not Christians, at least the principles of Christianity. And I think there's kind of a strange spiritual revolution going on now against all odds, which is traditionally when the church has thrived. Your X account at Imperator Truth. Go follow Titus Frost there. Lots of pirate imagery and secret codes for some secret group of pirates that you lead there, Titus. We didn't quite get into that, but I know that's a whole thing.
Well, we have QAnon Sec, which runs the net and is fighting against the PSYOPs.
Of course. There you go. People.
We're not pro 17 and on. We're anti 17 and on. We're not for the Q PSYOP. We've been exposing it. So that's where we stand with that.
That's important work. At Imperator Truth on X. You got anything else to plug? Let people know where to interact with your work?
No, yeah. Just, I guess, follow me on YouTube and Twitter and wherever else you find me. I'm pretty much on every media platform like Rumble and all these things. So I try to make sure that I'm everywhere so that if they ban me from one place, I'm in other places. So
gotta do it. You gotta do it. He's tricky, that Captain Titus Frost. You'll never catch him. All right, buddy. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully we can sit down, spend some more time next time, but means a lot. And good luck with, fighting your new, enemy, Nikki Haley. Stay safe.
Yeah, I don't know. She better just stay out of fast food places near where I skate. Okay.
Yeah, she learned that lesson real quick, huh?
Chick-Fil-A. The Chick-Fil-A appearance of Nikki Haley, it was just golden.
She didn't know what she was walking into. All right, thanks a lot, Titus Frost. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
All right, everybody. There you go. That's Captain Titus Frost. Go check him out. And thank you for listening to this episode of Canary Cry Radio. Tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage. Hey, everybody. Your best buddy Basil here, coming in at the end of the episode. Here I am. We hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Isn't that fun? So glad to get old friends back on the show. I wanted to remind everybody that we do not take any money from corporations, cartels, or commies. No, baby, we're value for value. And it's you've heard my enthusiasm for the value for value model, but just for anybody who's new, it is a total paradigm shift from the economic system that we've been programmed into for our entire lives. Indeed, it has been bludgeoned into our souls that the economic transaction of goods, services, and fiat dollars has been so pounded into our moral system that it offends people when they hear about the value for value model, which is a biblical system. It's a system that just makes sense, and it lets us, a media property, stay far away from the corruption and the temptations and the all the naughty things that come from advertising dollars. Indeed, advertising dollars rooted in occult magics of the mid-20th century and the the propensity for men to rule over men, not just their actions and their physical bodies, but their minds. You heard it right there in the interview. Nikki Haley says, oh, of course the news is corrupt. That's why we tell the truth with advertising, not even realizing that she is speaking words that are so twisted, the double speak of this mind-bending matrix that we live in, trying to convince us that the advertisements, that's the truth, that's the true words from the heavens above, come with paid advertisements on television. The twisted soul that can come to that conclusion is unfortunate. I pray that they are not too far gone to realize the error of their ways. So that is one reason why we're on the value for value model, which means we create value, we do it as often as we can, we do it as well as we can, and if you get any value from what we do here, it's a simple principle. You can raise your fist in the air in rebellion to the transactional nature of the beast system, our economic beast system here, and say, you know what? I already got this thing for free. I got this show for free. I'm going to continue to get this show for free, but I want to put some value back in. And it's not just money. Value can be your time, your talent, or your treasure. That's right. We've got producers all over the world volunteering their time. We've got producers making art, making music, making jingles for the show. And of course, we've got people putting their financial resources into the show, not because they are being held hostage, not because that we are withholding premium content from them, but because they realize that for once in our lives we can see and experience something that brings value to our lives for free, and know that the only way that it continues to exist is if people put value back in. And that's you, dear listener. Remember, not everybody has to produce every single episode of the show, but as long as we are all being honest and generous and participatory in the value for value system in whatever way we can express value, put it back into the show, we will survive this. Man, oh man, whatever is going on here. I'm seeing the list, the Civil War list just continues to start getting filled out with various states taking various sides. I'm watching Twitter right now as I'm recording this. More and more states getting behind Texas. This map is getting pretty red, folks. I'm looking at the map. Civil War is trending, treason's trending, National Guard's trending, close the border is trending. Those are the 5 things that are trending right now on Twitter. The entire lineup related to what's going on down at the Texas border. And of course, we've been talking about it. We will continue to follow up, analyze the situation, and deconstruct how the media wants us to react. And that is something we all need to remember. It is so very easy to tune into our favorite news station, whether it's a conservative or a liberal station, doesn't matter. And indeed, the alternative media industrial complex, when they are all speaking the same language, when they are all seem to be reading from the same script, we need to remember and be cognizant of who is pulling our strings. Check your strings, folks. Make sure that there's nobody controlling the way that you are feeling and the way that you are acting in this time. A lot of times the betrayal comes from those that we trust the most. Check your feeds, check your podcast list, check everything, and seriously, take a second, take a deep breath, and contemplate who you're listening to, what they're saying, what is being scripted, how are we being triggered to respond, because now more than ever, my friends, is the time to be delicate, the time to be subtle, and as I just told somebody today in regards to everything going on, now is the time for Christians especially to remember to be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves, okay? Now is not the time to fly off the handle, and of course, as always, pray for the show, pray for our families, pray for this country, and God bless the United States of America. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry Radio. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.